Hello and welcome to Sol y Luna Inspirations with myself, Dan Robinson, and Martin Pontois. Today we're going to be talking about the Scorpio New Moon coming up on Monday, November 13th at 1:27 a.m. if you're in Pacific Standard Time, otherwise adjust for your location. And after looking at the chart and digesting some of what's coming up here, Martin has come up with a wonderful phrase, rage or courage, checking in with the ancestors. Hello, Martin.
Hey, Diana, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm very full and busy in life and plowing through. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in Toronto.
Woo,
Wow.
other side.
I'm getting a taste for what urban Canada is like. Whoa. Unbelievable.
I can only imagine. How was
Yeah.
the eclipse for you?
How was the eclipse for me? Well, I find that this whole time here is life-changing. There's a lot going on a lot of different levels, and my life is taking some very interesting turns. So I think it's transformational. It requires tremendous amount of surrender and acceptance. And I guess the main lesson for me through this trip, I've been on the road for 6 weeks now, and to me, it's learning how to pray.
Hmm.
Big theme for me. Learning how to pray and learning to listen to the answers to my prayers. So the big component is that prayer has two aspects to it. There's the praying, but there's also the listening to the answers. And so that's been the major theme in my journey.
Love it. It's a good reminder. Definitely it brings the prayer, the intention, the like offshoot into a full circuit and come back.
How you been doing?
I've been good. Lots of layers, lots of different things happening in life, and lots of learning lately, and lots of feel a bit like an octopus doing lots of different things in different arms, but loving everything I'm doing. So very grateful for my life right now, and tapping into deeper wells of knowledge, truth, power, but also just this Saturn return. I just had my birthday. I'm feeling very strong right now. So grateful for that strength because these
Happy
things
birthday,
come and
by the
go.
way.
Yeah.
When I get back, we'll go and have a birthday lunch.
Sounds great. Looking
So how are you feeling this next new moon? And it's a new moon in Scorpio. How are you feeling that one?
I'm I'm excited. I was looking at the chart this weekend and I'm doing the astro herbalism course as well. So doing some studies around Scorpio there and just remembering like everything that comes into the archetype of Scorpio. So I guess for those listening right now, Scorpio is a water sign. It's the second water sign after Cancer. It's a fixed sign. And it's the eighth sign if we start with Aries being number one. So there's this piece of death and renewal that happens. And a new moon to me is often a good time to set new intentions and allow for some inner death and renewal. And one of my big prayers in life, at least maybe not always, but I go through many waves within a year of asking to let die what needs to be reborn within me. So really trying to stay open to letting things go that need to be let go of. And Scorpio new moon feels like a really potent time for that.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Like we were doing in the last video, huh? The dark hall. It feels like we're entering into the dark hallway, and Scorpio is like, okay, facing your shadow or what?
Yeah, a lot of facing the shadow and then trying to take a breath. How do I want to respond versus react?
And that's the piece about courage versus rage, huh? So you want to share the slide?
Yeah, let's dive into this nice material here. So Rage versus courage. Checking in with the ancestors. This is the
Well,
chart.
go ahead.
I was gonna say this is the chart of the new moon coming up here. And what do you why checking in with the ancestors? What brought that part up for you, Martin?
Well, for those of you who have worked with me before and who are familiar with my work, a lot of facing the rage, facing the ancestral rage and having the courage to give the ancestral rage a voice. And so with Samhain and Halloween and the Day of the Dead and All Saints Day, we are really faced with having to integrate and to face the rage. And what I like about the word courage is that it includes the word rage. And so it's the heart, the courage to have like in French, cœur, so to have the heart to face your rage. And so in this time, I think that there's a lot of frustrations and rage at everything that we're going through as a collective and as individuals in a desensitized collective. So we have a choice, do we just rage against the machine, which is a good thing to do, but it takes courage to bring about the change and the integration of the shadow so that we can be the change in this that is so desperately needed in this really difficult time.
I like that. So much of that. The courage to be able to face our rage right now. That's when I hear that, I think of so many things. One of the things that came up was how in this eclipse there was so much effect with Chiron as well. And that part of our like wounded warrior inside of us, when I think of like the courage to face your rage, I think a lot of like the masculinity within us all. And there's a wounded masculine there where we're taught either not to be angry, or as men often I've heard, anger is like one of the only allowed emotions. And then yet being in a culture that's not always willing to allow people to act on their anger. I think there's a healthy way to do that. So finding healthy ways to let yourself to be courageous, to let your rage out. It's really good.
And find healthy expressions of that rage is really important. So the new moon is almost exactly in conjunction with Mars. and Mars rules Scorpio. So and then it makes an exact opposition to Uranus. And so Mars will, and the sun and the moon will all go into exact opposition to Uranus. So it has the potential of being a very fiery, intense new moon. And really the collective, is under a lot of tension, and I think we're liable to see at the new moon and leading to the new moon and after the new moon some expression of that ancestral rage and the need for some real courage in facing the difficulties that are emerging. And so the urine, and also the Uranus opposition to Sun and Moon and Mars also makes T square to Saturn. So then we have that Saturn Uranus T square square that was such a prominent part of 2022 and 2021. And so it's kind of like a flashback to all the tension we've been through, the revolutionary Uranian urge and the Saturnian control. Saturn has just started to move direct again, and we talked about that in the last video. So that T square is quite charged.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be a very charged new moon. There's a piece of Mars it's about how you react and act from the sun, and it's right in conjunction with the sun. So I see a lot of rage or courage and awareness of needing to respond from a place of truthfulness
Right.
versus reacting based on past patterning. I know Mars, when I study in our body, it's how we respond, it's our reflexes. And reflexes can save your life, which are amazing and incredible and so helpful. And yet those reflexes can also limit your potential in a moment too, if you're not trying to see the bigger scope.
Yeah, and you know, this habit of you know, reflecting between, you know, the stimulus and response, you know, the you know, and to be able to check in with the ancestors and to know from our guidance system, inner guidance system, you know, whether we're in alignment with what is right, you know, and so, you know, that's that piece of rage versus courage, you know, if we can check in with what is right within ourselves and react in a healthy way, to the stimulus of the rage, it can go a long way in helping us find healthy expressions of that tension that is so prominent collectively, huh?
It's a good use for it, and it's also really potent. It's really, there's a lot of beautiful potent energy to create new life and create the life you want to be living even more so.
So, and then the other factor on the moon is the triad of transformation with the Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, and it constellates a perfect bowl shape. And so the sacred container of you know, these powerful times that we're living through, and you know, 7 out of the 11 planets are constellated in this bowl shape. And so you know, the holy grail of the, you know, the sacred container containing the water of life is a very important you know, energy structure, you know, so learning to contain everything that's going on and to be courageous in it is a really big piece of, you know, thriving in the chaos.
Yeah, big time.
What do you think of all that?
I think that having that containment is,
You want to shift to screen?
sure. Just saying, I'm thinking that having that containment is really helpful and essential, especially for water signs, because we have such a like fiery water sign when we're talking about Scorpio, and it's also the fixed water sign, so there's an energy that likes to like go deep versus continue to flow, which can become problematic at times, but it has a lot of medicine in it too, and then just needing that containment. The fact that what's containing it is this triad of transformation feels like there could be a lot of there's flashbacks because of the Uranus square opposition I see potential, but then there's also this push towards the future where this triad of transformation or a collective grand shift we're all on right now for the next few years, well, forever, but especially these potent couple years right now. I think it's going to be, what flashes to my head is when we talked a little while ago about, I think it was the Mercury retrograde video, to create a bridge or make a bridge and get over it, was the, I think called it, a bit about this, the past and the future, and how we're going to cross into the future, and what is our truth and what's not, and how we're honoring our ancestors or how we're not, and are we going to be reacting in rage, or we're going to have the courage to change the patterns for the future.
We're going to see another Mercury retrograde. But a thing that I find interesting in doing a lot of readings, because I'm still doing readings even though I'm on the road, and you know, people that are checking in with me and just sharing what they're going through in their process, it seems like the preliminary tension to the new moon seems to be indicating that something is brewing in the unconscious, that we're going to see some powerful development, and that a lot of us are kind of being triggered by that. And so then to being very attentive to what's going on in your process and checking in with the ancestors in terms of looking for guidance through prayer and practice, and to you know active imagination and writing, and trying to put your antenna up and pick up what's going on, because being prepared is really important in times of crisis. And so I believe that we're getting a lot of these signals. What you're gonna do a card?
Yeah, that's what I'm slowly shuffling as I sit with what you're sharing and think about this new moon coming. Do you want to pull a card now?
Yep, go ahead.
I usually want you to touch the deck, so I'm just going to imagine you're touching the deck.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Oh, wow. This is the Five of Swords.
Oh, it feels like we're tired, huh?
Yeah.
It's like the end of the battle, huh? Very busy fall for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And there's something about the change of season that we experience in Scorpio, where wow, it's been a lot, huh?
It has been a lot, yeah. I think a lot of people I talk to and check in with feel like yeah, there's just this like a bit of a worn out and busy or trying to do everything capacity going on. I don't know about what it's like over there with the time change or depending on where you're all tuning in from, but here we just had our daylight savings, which we still do. And that was a hard, rude shift in my nervous system the last couple of days. Just it being so dark suddenly, I feel like, oh, right, hibernation's around the corner. I can start putting down my many tools and many projects soon because my system's really starting to need to hibernate soon, and I can feel that coming around the corner. But not there
Yeah, for sure.
yet. Not there yet.
Let's look at the alchemical opportunities that are coming up. And then I did something different this time. I put a chart, part of it. And so, whoops. So alchemical opportunities, we talked about Saturn turning direct on the 4th, Mercury-Uranus opposition, also on the 4th. Then on the 11th, we have Mars opposite Saturn. So pre-new moon, we should be starting to feel the fireworks. And then November 13th is the new moon we talked about. And this is the chart of November 17th. And I thought it was very interesting in that same Sun, Mars, Uranus, Saturn T-square is active right on the ascendant. And so, I think that, probably from the 11th to the 17th, there is going to be a pretty intense pocket of time. And then Moon is going into a conjunction with Pluto on the 17th, and T-squaring Chiron Venus opposition. So the feminine aspects of our personality may feel, a little bit wounded and depleted. And then there's this beautiful little finger of God with Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter that ought to bring some interesting and creative inspiration as we seek to get ready for the sun moving into Sagittarius, which is always a big party.
That's exciting. I feel like, yeah, big shifts to come.
Yes, it's always, the Sagittarius month is always, a welcome change after the month of Scorpio, huh?
Very much so. Yeah.
So then in your process, watching from the 11 to the 17 there, and being really mindful of your resources and of making sure that you're well taken care of, you got some medicine for us?
Yeah. Speaking of being taking care of our dear bodies, our little spaceships this lifetime. So Scorpio in the body governs our large intestine, our reproductive system, and our regenerative system. So much like it symbolizes death and rebirth within the astrological chart. It also does that within our bodies. So the tissue salt that's associated is cal sulf or calcium sulfate. It's also known as gypsum or sulfate of lime. So this is a mineral that is used a lot in our liver, especially, and it helps to break down old red blood cells. So again, there's this piece of needing to let go or take things out or let go of what's excess. And so if you're deficient in that, you can see issues come up like toxicity in the blood, can look like things like being too acidic or having septic states, boils, infections, acne, herpes. Often when there's something stagnant or building in the liver, you'll see it in your skin. They have an affinity and they work together consistently. The skin is a great communicator of what's going on in the blood. And then foods that you can find this tissue salt in would be things like almonds, cucumbers, cauliflower, leeks, onions, turnip, and pretty much all the brassicas. So kale, cauliflower, like I said, cabbage, all of those gorgeous Brussels sprouts would be another one. Really good at helping to purify the body, let go of old, dead red blood cells that need to be broken down so your body can recreate new ones. Otherwise, they stagnate in the liver. Scorpio also rules the part of our body that is always cleansing and antiseptic. So that comes right down into our bladder and intestines, which is two places that we let go of our toxic load or things that aren't serving us anymore. So really wanting to make sure you're drinking enough water and getting enough fiber, having good bowel movements and releasing all that doesn't serve you on a physical level too. Herbs that can really help are blackberry because it's very astringent. Blessed thistle is cleansing there. Horseradish, flax, leeks, wormwood, and sarsaparilla have also been linked a lot to helping balance the Scorpio aspects of each of our bodies. And for the activation invitation, I wrote pleasure yourself and find ways to create deep pleasure and create in general. So if you're looking for some way to really hone in this Scorpio new moon with yourself or with a group of people, however you choose to celebrate the new moon, even if it's just a moment of connection and thought, noticing what causes and creates pleasure within your body and just taking a moment for that, because life is a full roller coaster, and when we take care of ourselves, it's much easier to meet the challenges and stay in our truth, be in a courageous state versus full of rage, and live life in a little bit more of a easeful way when things can be so intense. Yeah.
So important, huh? So important to be mindful of ourselves in this day and age. We tend to, just because the pressure on us is so strong, we tend to just go, 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 go. And then that invites breakdown. And so as the season changes and we enter into the dark quarter of the year, just making sure you're taking a break and having a little fun, huh? So
Yeah,
important.
very. Makes me think back to this card. I'm still digesting this Five of Swords here, but it's interesting how two are walking away and drop their swords, and the one gentleman's still standing there. He's looking back at them.
Right,
But he's holding more swords. He's holding three of the swords.
right. And he's got a smile on his face, and the
Hmm.
dark clouds seem to be moving away.
Yeah.
And so a sense that, why fight? And so there's a interesting, kind of a sense of recalibrating or reassessing our resources, and Scorpio is associated with transformation and death. So I think that facing, and picking up the pieces after the battle is what I identify that. But I'm sure Carol in the comments will tell us what she thinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to it. I also see the swords as air, and the middle of the swords, the like the fifth number there would be like the beginning of the shifting from the beginning to the more mature and the middle of that time. And we're in the middle of the fall right now. We're shifting gears, but then also being air sign, the middle air sign, I think a Libra. And so there's this piece of maybe re-looking at your values and balancing out things. And Venus is going to be in Libra right now, which is where it likes to be, and kind of brings it full circle to keeping that Mars in check is also by keeping your Venus happy. And so maybe taking care of yourself and your creativity and your need for relationships and pleasure and fun to be able to show up in a more courageous way.
And that's, you know, that piece of turning the rage into courage, and in order to do that, creativity and expressing, you know, the gifts from the ancestors in a healthy way, so that we can, you know, have the courage to face our reality with more joy and more determination and more sense that, you know, the power of, you know, the redemptive power of the ancestors can shine through our practice. You know, I think there's a certain depth to our life that's being invited, like you were saying, you know, having more truth, living your truth, you know, and that's, to me, is kind of an ancestral thing. You know, we become the voice of the ancients, in our lineage, and we become the example of the change that we want to see. That's, you know, that courage piece that I feel is really important as we enter into this new moon energy.
Love it. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's kind of, we're curious to know what you think about us being kind of like this in distance. It's kind of different, but the next video will be back in person, so that I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to spending time with you again, and thank you so much for celebrating together. We've made it to 1,100 subscribers, 1,101. Exciting. So thanks for supporting the channel, you guys. Thank you, Dave, for joining me again. And we'll see you very soon.
Over and out. Be well. Happy releasing and new beginnings for your new moon, everyone.
Woohoo!